I came home early with a pink bakery box tucked under my arm, glazed pastries still warm, when I heard my husband's voice say something that made my stomach drop. If she finds out now, we lose everything. I stopped breathing. The front door was still half open. My heels were in my hand. I stood there, frozen, listening to my life quietly fracture on the other side of the wall. My name is Emily Carter, and until that moment, I believed my marriage was solid. 8 years with Ryan Carter, my college sweetheart, my partner, the man who once promised me that secrets were poison. We had built a life in a quiet American suburb, the kind of place with trimmed lawns and neighbors who waved every morning. Safe. Predictable. Ours. Or so I thought. Ryan wasn't alone. A second voice answered him, a female, confident, almost amused. I knew that voice instantly. Lauren. My older sister. She wasn't supposed to be home yet, Lauren said. You said her shift runs late on Fridays. Ryan exhaled sharply. It does. She probably just forgot something. Forgot something. Like the fact that my husband and my sister were clearly planning something behind my back? I pressed my shoulder against the wall, heart slamming so hard it felt audible. The word everything echoed in my head. Lose everything how? Money? The house? My marriage? My fingers tightened around the pastry box until I felt it bend. Ryan continued, lower now. The documents are almost done. Once her signature's on the trust, it's irreversible. Lauren laughed softly. She won't even read it. Emily trusts you. She always has. That hurt more than I expected. Not because it wasn't true, but because they were using it. Memories rushed in, Ryan insisting we restructure our assets. Lauren suddenly helping with our finances. The way they exchanged looks when I asked questions. I had blamed stress. Work. My own overthinking. I was wrong. So what if she suspects something? Lauren asked. Ryan paused. Then we make sure she doesn't dig. She won't fight us. She never does. My vision blurred, not with tears, but with clarity. These weren't mistakes. This wasn't confusion. This was a plan. Carefully built. Slowly executed. And I was the final piece they needed. The floor creaked beneath my foot. Inside the living room, their conversation stopped. Did you hear that? Lauren asked. Ryan didn't answer right away. I stepped back into the shadows, pulse racing, realizing something terrifying and powerful at the same time. They thought I was still the woman walking through life unaware. Smiling. Trusting. Easy to control. They had no idea that, from this moment on, I was listening. I didn't confront them that night. I walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened, forced a smile, and held up the pastry box as if it were proof that I was still the same Emily they thought they knew. Surprise, I said lightly. Ryan's face flickered, just for a second. Relief followed too quickly. Lauren recovered faster, flashing her big sister smile, already reaching for a pastry like she belonged there. You're home early, Ryan said, too casually. Meeting got cancelled, I replied. Thought I'd treat us. No one mentioned the conversation I'd overheard. No one mentioned everything. But from that moment on, I started seeing the cracks. Ryan began taking calls in the garage. Not the kitchen. Not the living room. The garage, with the door shut, and his voice dropped low. When I asked who it was, he always answered too fast. Work. Lauren started coming over unannounced. She'd say she was just checking on us, yet every visit somehow turned into a private discussion with Ryan. When I entered the room, their voices stopped. Conversations shifted. Smiles tightened. Then there was the money. I noticed our joint account had fewer notifications. Statements were suddenly handled. Ryan insisted on managing the bills, something we'd always done together before. When I asked to see the paperwork, he kissed my forehead and said, "Don't stress yourself. I've got it." I told myself that's what husbands do. Still, the unease followed me everywhere, like a quiet hum under my skin. At night, Ryan slept facing away from me, his phone tucked under his pillow. Once, I woke up to the glow of his screen at 2 a.m. He flipped it face down the second he noticed my movement. "Bad dream?" he asked. I nodded. I didn't tell him the dream felt awake. Lauren's behavior changed too. She'd always been protective, sometimes overbearing, but now she corrected me in front of others. Questioned my decisions. Subtly painted herself as the responsible one. "You've always been too trusting, Em," she said once, laughing. "That's your weakness." The word weakness stuck with me. I started replaying moments I had brushed aside before, documents I signed without reading closely, financial terms Ryan said were standard, Lauren encouraging me to let him lead. Each memory added weight to my chest. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation. That I was spiraling. That the words I heard that afternoon meant something else. But late one evening, while Ryan showered, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message preview flashed on the screen. "Lauren, she suspects nothing. We're still on schedule." My hands shook as I placed the phone back exactly where it was. I stared at my reflection in the dark window, realizing the truth was getting closer, and whatever they were hiding, it wasn't going to end quietly. Something was being taken from me. And they were counting on me not noticing until it was too late. The truth didn't come screaming into my life. It came quietly, printed in black ink, hidden inside a folder Ryan thought I'd never open. 2 days after the message on his phone, I told him I was meeting a friend after work. Instead, I came home early again. This time, I didn't bring pastries. I brought suspicion. Ryan's car was gone. Lauren's wasn't. The house felt too empty. I went straight to the home office, the room Ryan had recently organized for us. His laptop sat on the desk, still warm. He'd forgotten to lock it. My heart hammered as I touched the mouse, half hoping it would ask for a password. It didn't. The folder was labeled Estate Planning, Final. Inside were documents I recognized instantly, my parents' trust. My breath hitched. After our parents died 3 years ago, Lauren and I had inherited everything jointly. The house they left us. Their savings. Investments meant to secure both our futures. I had trusted Lauren to help me understand the paperwork back then. Trusted Ryan when he offered to handle the legal side. Now I saw what they had really handled. My name was still there, Emily Carter. My signature too. But the ownership percentages had changed. Drastically. Properties reassigned. Accounts transferred. Control shifted. The beneficiary listed in bold letters wasn't me. It was Lauren Mitchell. I scrolled faster, panic rising. Email threads filled the screen, Ryan and Lauren planning timelines, coordinating lawyers, discussing how to move assets before I caught on. One line burned into my brain: once Emily signs the amendment, everything transfers. She'll still think it's for tax purposes. I stumbled back from the desk, my chest tight, vision blurring. They weren't just lying to me. They were stealing my parents' legacy. My future. My safety. I remembered that afternoon by the door, Ryan's voice saying, "We lose everything." He hadn't meant us. He had meant them. My hands shook as I closed the laptop. Rage followed heartbreak so fast it scared me. 7 years of marriage reduced to strategy. A lifetime of sisterhood rewritten as greed. Every smile Lauren had given me. Every kiss Ryan placed on my forehead. Every trust me. It was all calculated. I sat on the floor and laughed once, short, broken. Then I cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent tears soaking into the carpet as the weight of it crushed me. They thought I was weak. Predictable. Easy to manipulate. They were wrong about one thing. I might be hurt. But I wasn't powerless. And as I wiped my face and stood up, one thought cut through the chaos, sharp and steady: they had planned this carefully. Which meant I had time to plan something better. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Ryan, staring at the ceiling while his breathing stayed slow and even, peaceful in a way that made my skin crawl. Every inhale sounded like betrayal. Every exhale felt like proof that he believed he had already won. At some point near dawn, something inside me went quiet. The crying stopped. The shaking stopped. In its place came a strange, steady calm. I slipped out of bed and stood in the bathroom, gripping the sink as I looked at my reflection. My eyes were swollen, yes, but behind them was something new. Focus. I thought of my parents, of my mother's voice telling me to never let anyone speak for me, and my father's belief that kindness didn't mean surrender. That was the moment it hit me. They had mistaken my trust for weakness. Ryan hadn't forced me to sign anything. Lauren hadn't stolen in the dark. They had relied on something far more dangerous: my silence. My habit of stepping back, of letting others handle things. And if silence had helped them take everything, then awareness could help me take it back. That morning, I played my role perfectly. I made coffee. I asked Ryan about his day. I laughed at Lauren's text inviting me to dinner later that week. No suspicion. No tension. I watched how relaxed they were around me, how confident. That confidence was my opening. On my lunch break, I didn't meet a friend. I met Angela Brooks, a lawyer my mother once trusted, a woman known for being calm, ruthless, and exact. I laid everything out: the trust, the signatures, the emails, the manipulation. Angela didn't interrupt. When I finished, she looked at me and said, "They moved fast because they thought you wouldn't notice until it was irreversible." "Is it?" I asked. She gave a small smile. "Not yet." Something inside my chest loosened for the first time in days. Over the next week, I gathered proof quietly. I forwarded emails to myself. I copied files. I photographed documents Ryan kept locked away. I learned the language of trusts and amendments, of consent and coercion. Each piece of knowledge made me stronger. One evening, as Ryan wrapped his arm around me on the couch, I felt no fear, only clarity. I wasn't trapped in a marriage anymore. I was undercover in one. Lauren messaged later that night, "You've been quiet. Everything okay?" I stared at the screen, then typed back, "Just tired." "I trust you." The irony didn't hurt anymore. Because now I understood the truth that changed everything. They thought the story was already written. They had no idea I had just picked up the pen. By the time Ryan and Lauren started relaxing again, my plan was already moving. I didn't rush. I learned quickly that people who feel powerful make mistakes when they think no one is watching. Step 1 was documentation. Every email Ryan sent to Lauren about the trust, I archived. Every late-night message. Every calendar reminder labeled final review or transfer call. I recorded dates, times, and inconsistencies. Angela taught me how patterns mattered more than single moments. They didn't just steal, she said. They conspired. That word mattered. Step 2 was control. I stopped asking questions. I stopped hesitating before signing things, but this time, I read every word. When Ryan slid a document toward me with that familiar smile and said, "Just routine," I signed only after confirming it changed nothing. He mistook my calm for surrender. Lauren noticed too. "You've changed," she said over wine one night. "You seem lighter." "I finally stopped worrying," I replied. "You and Ryan have everything handled." She smiled, satisfied. The trap tightened. Step 3 was exposure preparation. Angela filed a quiet injunction, nothing that would alert them, just enough to pause asset transfers under the excuse of a routine audit. Ryan cursed the delay, blaming bureaucracy. Lauren assured him it was temporary. They still felt in control. Step 4 was timing. Lauren insisted on a family gathering to celebrate closure. The trust's finalization. A symbolic end. She wanted witnesses. She wanted to be seen as the responsible daughter, the successful sister. I wanted the same thing. I suggested inviting the estate attorney. Ryan suggested the financial advisor. I suggested Angela, introduced casually as someone helping me understand the paperwork. No one objected. Why would they? Step 5 was the final proof. 2 nights before the gathering, Ryan fell asleep with his phone unlocked. I didn't hesitate. I forwarded the last thread, the one where Lauren wrote, "Once it's done, she'll have no legal claim. Even if she leaves you." Ryan had replied, "Worth it." I sent it to Angela and deleted the evidence from his phone. The morning of the gathering, I looked at myself in the mirror, steady, composed. Not broken. Not confused. Ryan kissed my cheek. "Proud of you," he said. "This stuff is overwhelming." I smiled back. "I know. I couldn't have done it without you." That night, as our guests filled the living room, Lauren raised her glass, glowing with confidence. Ryan stood beside her, relaxed, victorious. They thought the game was over. They didn't realize the documents on the table weren't a celebration. They were a confession. And in a few hours, they would understand what losing everything really meant. The living room buzzed with polite laughter and the soft clink of glasses. Papers were arranged neatly on the coffee table, tabs marked, signatures ready. To anyone watching, it looked like a celebration of order, of family coming together to finalize things. Lauren stood at the center, radiant. Ryan rested a hand at the small of my back, grounding, possessive. He thought this was the moment everything became permanent. "Before we begin," Lauren said, lifting her glass, "I just want to say how grateful I am. Our parents would be proud of how responsibly we handled their legacy." I met her eyes and smiled. "I agree. Transparency matters." Ryan's fingers tensed for half a second. The estate attorney cleared his throat and began explaining the amendments. Percentages. Control. Final transfer of authority. Every word landed heavier than the last. "Emily," he said finally, "if you're ready, we can proceed." "I am," I said. "But first, I'd like to add something." Angela stepped forward. The room shifted. "I'm Angela Brooks," she said calmly. "I represent Emily Carter." Lauren blinked. "Why does she need a lawyer?" "This is family." Angela placed a folder on the table. "Because family doesn't usually commit coordinated financial fraud." Silence. Ryan laughed sharply. "This is ridiculous." I opened the folder. Email printouts slid across the table. Screenshots. Timestamps. The trust amendment trail. Ryan's messages. Lauren's instructions. The word "conspired" sat neatly highlighted on the first page. "I signed those documents," I said, my voice steady, "under false pretenses. While my husband and my sister planned to strip me of my inheritance." Lauren's face drained of color. Emily, you're misunderstanding, am I? I tapped the page. This is you telling Ryan I wouldn't read the fine print. I turned to Ryan. And this is you saying it was worth it, even if I left you. Gasps rippled through the room. The attorney stood. I need to pause this immediately. Angela nodded. Already done. A temporary injunction froze all asset transfers 48 hours ago. Ryan's jaw clenched. You went behind my back. I met his stare. Just like you did. Lauren's voice shook. You can't do this. It's already decided. I smiled then, not out of cruelty, but clarity. No. What you did was almost irreversible. What I did was legal. The attorney began gathering papers. Guests murmured. Phones came out. Lauren sank onto the couch, eyes wild. Ryan stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. You planned this, he whispered. Yes, I said softly. Because I came home early once, and heard you say you'd lose everything. I leaned closer. And now you have. The room erupted into chaos as lawyers spoke over each other, the celebration collapsing into public exposure. Their victory had lasted weeks. Their downfall took minutes, the fallout didn't come all at once. It came in waves. First, the lawyers. Then the court filings. Then the silence, long, suffocating, and deserved. Ryan moved out within a week. The house felt lighter without him, like it could finally breathe again. His accounts were frozen pending investigation. His reputation at work unraveled just as quickly once the legal language turned public. People don't look at you the same when fraud and breach of fiduciary duty attach themselves to your name. Lauren tried to fight it. She claimed confusion. Miscommunication. Sisterly misunderstandings. The judge didn't buy it. The emails did most of the talking. The timelines did the rest. The trust amendments were nullified, officially declared signed under manipulation and concealment. Control of my parents' estate was restored fully, legally, permanently. Lauren lost more than money. She lost credibility. Friends. The role she'd always played as the responsible one. Watching her sit there in court, smaller than I'd ever seen her, I felt something surprising. Not joy. Closure. Ryan didn't even look at me when the divorce was finalized. No apologies. No explanations. Just a man exposed, stripped of the story he'd built around himself. As for me? I kept the house. I kept the inheritance my parents worked their entire lives for. I kept my name untainted. But more than that, I kept myself. I learned something powerful through all of this: trust isn't weakness. Giving it blindly is. And silence doesn't keep peace, it just protects liars. Weeks later, I returned to that same bakery. I bought pastries again. Warm. Sweet. Familiar. But this time, I didn't bring them home early. I sat on a bench outside, sunlight on my face, and took the first bite as a free woman, no secrets waiting behind doors, no voices whispering about what I'd lose. Because the people who tried to take everything from me? They lost everything instead. And here's the part one want to ask you: have you ever trusted someone who was quietly planning against you? Have you ever felt that moment when your whole reality cracked, and you had to decide whether to break or rise? If this story gave you chills, if it felt real, tell me in the comments. Your story might be someone else's warning or strength. And if you want more stories about betrayal, truth, and poetic justice, subscribe. Because sometimes, coming home early doesn't ruin your life. Sometimes, it saves it.